Hey, I see someone in the chat just asked, when does the show start? It starts right here, right now. Welcome in, everybody. Another episode of Loncar Live. Special guest, very special guest tonight, Mr. Justin Kelly, a.k.a. Fattrain. Super awesome that he's on tonight. And I can easily say, after tonight, that I have had the most... I was thinking about this before the stream started. I was going to say the most underrated poker commentator out there in the business, but I'm just going to go with the most underrated commentator in the business. For those of you that know him, some of you know him from the ACR show, some of you know him from the gambling streets here in Sacramento. And yeah, we're going to talk about his story, his background, and some awesome stories I know he's got to share with you guys. Let's get into it. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight. Mr. Justin Kelly joining us from the great Sin City. Let's get into it. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight. Loncar Live begins, as Justin Kelly would say, right meow. There he is. There he is, the one and only. What's up, Justin? Welcome in, man.
Hello, my friends. How goes?
Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Appreciate you. How you doing out in Las Vegas from the punter's pad?
Great, man. It's been a wild ride out here. I mean, I feel like if you can come out to Vegas for an entire 2-month stint and survive, that's a win automatically, regardless of how you do at the tables.
Of course, man. Of course. And welcome in, everybody. Welcome into the chat. Welcome into the stream. We are here, and so I was thinking about, we've known each other for about 6 years or so.
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Yeah.
Feels like forever, you know what I mean? No,
definitely.
Just kidding.
I know, right? And yeah, so here we are. I'd never imagined when I first met you that me and you would be on a late night talk show stream. But I take that back.
Crazy the way so crazy the way that life works, man.
What's that?
I just said it's so crazy the way that life works like that. I mean, it's just like, I'm just going to meet this guy. Like, he's cool. I'm cool. Like, that's cool. And then like years later, I mean, we work in such a close capacity in all the right ways. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, man. And again, thanks for stopping through tonight. And I guess we'll just start fresh with, how has the last month or so been since you've been out in Vegas? Almost everyone in the chat knows, just in case you don't. Justin Kelly has been running it over at the punter's pad with all the crew, the America's Cardroom crew out in Vegas, playing tournaments, having parties, having good times. Tell everyone how it's been, maybe some things that no one knows about the trip so far, and just give us an overall summary of how the last month and a half has been out there.
It's been solid. All right, so some fun stories. Let's start out with night one. I actually got here to the house, and we technically had the house starting October 1st, but I got in a night early, and I didn't really feel like crashing somewhere, and I had all of my expensive broadcast equipment in my car, so I hit up the owner of the house and said, hey, do you mind if I stop in a night early? And I was like, we have the spot for 2 months. Hopefully this shouldn't be a problem. And he said, no problem. Go ahead, and here's the lockbox code. So I come to the house, I open the door, I do a quick walk through the house, and I come upstairs, and in the master bathroom, the sink drain was stuck closed. And the house was like nice and clean. You can tell it had been like, everything was like fresh smelling and vacuumed and everything. But the drain itself was stuck closed, and there was a small leak in the faucet. And so it had essentially started overflowing onto the upstairs bathroom floor.
Oh my God.
And in the event, like I was able to stop it. I couldn't, I was able to like bail the water out, and it like only did a little bit of damage to like the front drawers of the counter. But like in the event that I had checked in the next day in the afternoon, like I was supposed to, we probably wouldn't even have had this house. Like the entire upstairs would have flooded through the ceiling to the downstairs, like the whole nine. Like it's right off the bat, this could have started as a disaster, but just as luck would have it, skirted in here, was able to resurrect it. Then I went over the next day and I picked up Drew and Party, who had just finished on their RV trip across the country to get here. And the rest was history, man. We got in immediately after that. We got in our producer, our videographer, who's also our editor and also a rock star DJ Eaton, who I've basically rated a few times from the ACR show. And it's just been a wild ride. In fact, there's so much content and so many moving pieces to this. I think that there's never really a way we could have estimated that it was going to take as much work and time as it did. I mean, now being previously that I've done similar projects like the Thirst Lounge with Drew and Party and Ebony, I had an idea of what this was going to be, but when you have 6-7 people in a house all essentially firing different tournaments or tournaments at the same spot, I mean, you're just spread so thin. How does one cameraman who, quote, is also supposed to be editing handle all that? So we hired an additional videographer pretty quickly. We also have our producer's boyfriend, Nick Walsh, who is an amazing dude. And he's been here helping out in the video department as well. And I got to tell you, man, we've just been one big happy family. And it's just been an absolute pleasure.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Hell yeah. I wish I was out there with you guys. And just in case any of you are just tuning in, Justin Kelly in the house. America's Card Room got a sick pad with a pool for all of the ACR crew to hang out at for all of October and November out in Vegas. And yeah, man, it's been awesome watching you guys
now,
and seeing all
quick
the
caveat.
Yes, hit it.
Quick caveat to the pool. We do have a pool, however, Vegas in the fall / going into winter is a whole hell of a lot different than the typical WSOP 110 degree weather during the summer that you know. So we have a pool, although I got to be honest with you, that thing is ice cold.
I was going to say, it's definitely not, it sounds like it's not heated.
Yeah, no way. And I think there is a heater, but like we've tried and it just does it. So they've actually been using it for cold plunges in the morning, like straight polar bear status. And God bless them. That is not me, man. I like the hot showers, not like the turn into an ice cube type style, you know?
Yeah, that's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah.
That is brutal. So tell me how poker first came into your life, gambling first came into your life when you were a youngin'. How did you first get introduced to the game?
Well, I grew up playing cards with my folks. Pretty much this was before the time. I don't want to date myself. This is before all you kids and your iPads. But when we would travel, essentially we would always travel with cards, and we would just play games like Speed and Rummy and everything else. And that was like our thing. We're just literally sitting on the airport floor. We're playing, we're in the plane, and we're like putting the tray tables down and we're playing, and we just kept a notepad throughout the entire thing. However, poker was never really part of that. It was just like, you know, other card games and board games and stuff like that. So I was always a game player, obviously into video games and pinball, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But it's one of those things where I had actually gone to a local casino. We're not going to name names. Let's not throw ourselves completely under the bus. But I had gone to a local casino that had just opened. It was a very large Indian casino. And I was underage at the time. And me and some friends essentially we wanted to play, you know, I still didn't know poker. We just wanted to get in there and play some blackjack and hang out. We thought we're like, oh, we're going to be rich. We know how to play blackjack.
How old were you?
Spoiler alert, don't do that. I was like 20, like maybe tail end of 19, 20. You know, it wasn't like, I was close, right?
Okay.
So we essentially like drove into the parking lot. We're like, we probably won't even be able to get in. And we legit like Ocean's 11 scouted this place, right? So we're going around. We're like, okay, I think the security guards kind of change, you know, like shifts around this time. And like that guy will swap places. So I think if we like wait, we can like get in this door and not get carded, which doesn't mean crap. Cause I mean, you walk up to the table, they'll card you anyways, right? But like, whatever, like we thought like we were so smart. So we get in there and we made it inside. So step one complete, hearts racing. We're inside. We're like, we're in a casino. We're going to play some games. We're going to be rich. This is awesome. Well, this Indian casino had just opened and all the table minimums were $25. And you got to remember, I'm 19 or 20, man, $25 hands of blackjack is like not a thing. Yeah, that's like totally not a thing at that age.
That's ultra high stakes when you're like 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're playing nosebleeds right now.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like balling. I mean, hell, like even right now, I don't want to go fire like $25, $50 hands of blackjack, right? So, you know, it's like, so we get in there and every single table has lines, like 3 people deep just to get up to get a seat. So we have to like wait in line to play blackjack, which was already a new experience. And I get up to the table and I just dust off like my $200, or I think it was 200, maybe 300. 300 sounds abnormally high. 200 was already like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life money? So so we dust off like $200 and I'm just bummed. And I turn around, I'm talking to my friends and I'm like, you know, man, like I want to like keep hanging out with you guys and I want to keep like gambling and messing around, but like, I don't want to do it here. I can't afford this. I don't want to do this, you know? And they said, well, let's go play some poker. Have you ever played? And I said, no, I haven't. And essentially a buddy of mine owned a little deli shop around the corner. His parents did. And he had the key to it. And there's a gas station in the parking lot. He's like, well, let's go back to the deli and we'll play cards. So we stopped at a local AM/PM gas station And we ended up getting, whatever, like $20 worth of nickels, dimes, and quarters. And that's it. And then we went in there and we played all of the DGen games that like you don't even hear about today, like Follow the Queen, right, where they keep changing wilds, or Chicago, which is highest spade in the hole in a stud game, gets half the pot. And like all of the baseball, I think, where if you get a 4 or 7, you can like buy another card. Just every game that, I swear some of them were just made up, but like who cares? We had an absolute blast. And I left that night with an entire one of those like big gulp 32-ounce cups just filled with change. And I remember getting home and like just looking at it, and I kind of had this look like, I had a lot of fun and I made money. We should do that again. Yes. And the rest was history, man. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. So you literally dove into poker at the casino and just went for it, and that's where it began. That's awesome.
Yeah, and ironically enough, if you want to talk about coming full circle, this was around the time where, of course, so what do you start doing immediately after that? You start having home games with your friends, and you start organizing these sort of things. Yes. And this is the moneymaker time, right? This is 03, 04. And so it's so crazy to think that I had him on like the big screen projection TV, those giant projection TVs, that we had him in the background of our home game. And that's what we were all sweating when we were playing our 25 cent, 50 cent. And now essentially he's one of our colleagues here on ACR, which I just think is so cool.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, man. So you've always been, at least since I have known you about 6 years ago, since we first met, I've always known you to be a maverick, no 9 to 5, staying up late, gambling, casino lifestyle, poker commentator, content creator. Have you always been a quote unquote maverick, or did you graduate from college? Did you get a job? Did you work a 9 to 5 for a while? Give us the story.
I love it.
Give us the story before jumping into commentating and whatnot.
I love it, man. This is such a great question. And for the record, chat, like we didn't go over any of these questions. He didn't lob this to me. And actually, I liked it just like that because I'm an open book, man. You know what I mean? So I was like, toss me whatever questions you want. And this is perfect. So I've always been a hustler, man. When it comes to back in the days, oh man, here, don't get me copyright police, but like back in the day, I was like dubbing over, copies of, cassette tapes to sell on the school bus and using up my entire dad's ink cartridge just to print out all of the track names and the little insert into the cassette thing. Nice. And then, when I got enough money, I bought a dual cassette dubbing thing so I could basically dub and it was a high speed thing so I could dub 2 cassettes at once, twice as fast, right? So that was cool. And then like at school, I would just end up being at like a bulk warehouse store, like a Costco or Sam's Club. And then, my dad would just buy me like, oh, here, son, what do you want? I'm like, I want this 5-pound bag or 10-pound bag or whatever it was. 10 pounds sounds crazy, but 5-pound bag of like Jolly Ranchers. And so I would go to school and I would like sell them for like a nickel a piece. And then quickly I realized, right. And my dad was just like, well, you sure eat a lot of Jolly Ranchers. And I'm like, I know I'm fat, Dad, but calm down, man. So I'm at school and I realized that everybody started cherry picking specifically like apple and grape. So then I started upselling those, and those had a slight markup on them. I've just always been a businessman in that regard. And so, And so as time progressed, I find that it's one of those things where I like to have my fingers in a lot of pies and make it happen. And I've just always lived that entrepreneur lifestyle. So I had a 9 to 5 for a little while. When I was going to school, my parents were always like, they were very traditional. They were supportive and they were open to ideas, but at the same time, they're like, no, get your ass out there and you go to school, you go to college, etc. So I did. I appeased them. I went to a local junior college. I got my associates in computer science, which was hilarious because I basically challenged half the courses. But to get that degree, you essentially have to take very basic classes. So like in the back, this is a quick fun story. In the back of one of those classes, I believe I was grinding on, I think it was Paradise Poker. Yes. Right? You guys remember that?
Yes, I definitely remember. That's the first site I played on was Paradise Poker. Yeah.
I loved it. So I was grinding in Paradise Poker and it's just rows of computers and the teacher's up front on their projector. And I don't even know what he was talking about. I wasn't paying attention. I was more involved in like check raising my garbage and 7 deuce and like, getting my rocks off in online poker. So I remember winning at the time what was a super large cash pot, like a couple $100 cash pot, online, like $300 cash pot. Cause normally I was playing micro stakes, right? I would deposit like 20 or 40 bucks. I wasn't putting in a whole lot. And it was pretty funny because I won this pot and whatever he was talking about in his presentation, I stood up and I was just like, yeah. And I like clap and I go nuts. And he just points back. He's like, that's the kind of enthusiasm I like to see. He had no idea. It was because I won this poker pot. So that was a good time. But I went through there. I did the hustle. I got my degree. And yeah, I did a couple corporate IT gigs for a while just to pay the bills. But even during when I was doing that, I was always grinding poker on the side, grinding side hustles. I mean, it's just, you got to live your best life, man. And I just knew that I was going to go ahead and like report to an office for a little while, to get some money on paper, buy my house, et cetera, et cetera. But I knew that I was not going to be a lifer chained to a desk. That's just not me, man. That's it.
I still have the mental image of you as like a 9-year-old with like the long black jacket and like the Jolly Ranchers with the different colors. Like, you want the red one, you want the blue one.
You want, yeah. Basically, it's the same thing as the Matrix, right? The red pill or the red pill or the blue pill, but it's Jolly Ranchers. Yes. Same. Yeah.
So when was the time and place, and what caused you to say, screw the 9 to 5? I'm going Maverick style. I'm not gonna have my own boss anymore. I'm gonna be my own boss. What event or what can you remember took place for that to happen?
I did corporate IT for a commercial shipping company for about 7 years. And during that time, basically the owner was a raging bipolar bear. Bipolar bear. That's a thing. Well, at least it is. And that's how I made it up. Just crazy maniac dude to the point, like, here's a couple examples. You guys know when you plug a monitor before HDMI and you would plug a monitor in the back of your computer and they had the little screws that you screw in into your graphics card, right?
Yes.
This guy is so insane. He didn't like something I did one time, which, by the way, saved our account with Hewlett Packard at the time. So boom, if you're watching, sir. He didn't like what I did at the time. And essentially, he took his monitor off his desk and threw it at me.
Wow.
Now, joke's on him because it was one of the few times I actually screwed those little screws in and the cord caught it and then it flew down and yanked and put a hole in the wall. And I was like, cool. And I looked at him and was like, well, you have a good day, sir. Just absolutely insane.
Wow.
And it always blew my mind how people like that got commas and zeros in the bank account that I couldn't fathom. And I knew that I wanted to get those commas and zeros, but I promised myself I would never, ever, ever be like that. So there basically came a breaking point where I was at that job and pretty much I went in and said, hey, man, I haven't had a raise in a couple of years. Here's all the value I bring. Somebody who does half of what I do should be making X amount more than I currently make. I'd love to sit down and talk about salary with you. I had to pull teeth for several weeks and to basically never get a meeting. And at the end of it, basically say, no, we pay you. I pay you, basically, because he was like the single man ship. I pay you all I think you're worth. And that's it. And I'm never going to pay you another dollar. Straight up. Now, what do you do as an employee when you know that there is literally zero upside potential in a company you work for, and when you break your back all day? The answer is just buy. It's just deuces. So essentially at that point, I knew I was going to get laid off anyways because he has like a larger than thou attitude. So I just went to Office Space mode. Kicked back, knocked down the front of the freaking wall, got some Cheetos, played some Tetris. I got a meeting with the Bobs in a couple of minutes, like waiting to leave. You know what I mean?
And I know you well enough to know that you literally were thinking about that movie constantly while you were in this mode. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, 100%, man. I was all of probably 2 or 3 days of getting out the actual fish, and gutting it right on my desk like he does in the movie. Just come on, man. Absolutely. And it was funny because I actually knew I was going to get laid off, basically. I was really tight with the VP at the time. And he's like, bro, look, man, this guy's going to lay you off. So whatever projects you're doing, don't worry about it. Just live your best life here for the next whatever. I said, sounds good. And the thing is that I had actually, that place kind of sucked. And so the break room was lame and everything. So I brought in arcade machines, pinball machines. I brought in one of those cool Mega Touch things you see at the bar that has 200 different games on it, and kind of made the environment fun and productive. And when people enjoy their job, they work harder, they produce more. How do you not understand this as a business owner? So when I knew I was going to get laid off, I slowly started moving those things out of the office. And I felt bad because I couldn't tell anybody that I knew, but employees would ask me hey man, what happened to the pinball machine? I'm like, oh, it broke. I got to take it home and fix it. So by the time they actually laid me off, it was funny because they're like, well, you've been here for 7 years, so we'll have security stand here over you while you clean out your desk for the next several hours. And I literally just laughed and said, no, I'm good. I'm ready to go. I'll see you later. Bye. Like, that's it. I'm out.
I've been clearing out for weeks, son. I've been clearing out for weeks.
That's it. And so at that point, I had already actually been doing my first gig in poker broadcasting was actually on Stones Live. I'm sure none of you have ever heard of it. But yeah, so I was doing some broadcasting on Stones Live at the time, and then basically just started segueing more and more into that, which then segued into the Thirst Lounge, so the segued into the Thirst Lounge. Obviously, I met you at Stones, and then that segued into some relationships with ACR, which then conveniently meshed with some Thirst Lounge things. And then, I mean, here we are today, bro.
Dude,
so there you go.
That's awesome. So you got into poker commentating with Stones Live, and then applied for, just in case some of you out there don't know what Thirst Lounge is, Thirst Lounge was, explain what Thirst Lounge was.
So it's funny because Thirst Lounge, the first kind of iteration of Thirst Lounge is a brand that Bill Perkins created, essentially about being thirsty for what you want in life and living your best life and basically being hungry and thirsty and going after your goals. Well, the first time he did it, I believe it was Kevin Martin, both the Staples brothers, and they just came out and lived their best life with Perkins on like his yacht in the Virgin Islands for like a week, right? So then at Run It Up one year, Perkins was sitting around BSing with the Staples brothers, Jeff Gross, and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm busy, right? By the way, he does not like when you call him a billionaire. He likes to say he spends like a billionaire, but he's not a billionaire."
I thought he was a billionaire with all the crazy stuff he's done, like paying this guy $200K for this little tattoo and the insane money he throws around. Like, he has to be a billionaire. He's psycho if he's not, and I love that.
Well, I mean, that's the best part is look, he's a several hundred millionaire, so whoops, whatever it is, right? But it's funny because he's sitting around and said, because I have this wealth and because I'm so busy, essentially, I don't have time to run and promote my own channel. But because people loved it, they loved essentially looking at that lifestyle. Who doesn't want to see somebody streaming high stakes poker from a yacht in the Caribbean, right? I mean, that's amazing. So he was looking for what we thought was someone, as in singular, to take over his Thirst Lounge channel on Twitch. And then we all applied, myself, John Party, Bet on Drew, Ebony Kenny, several others. Kelly Minkin was one of them, a ton of others. And, Priestley, Maddie Forsyth, and everything from somebody living in their car to somebody who was already an existing streamer to somebody like Party, who essentially almost had no poker background, but it just won Big Brother Canada. And it was pretty crazy. So we thought it was going to be one person, and we thought it was going to be like, you get to go out and like stream some high stakes on a boat for a week. And then it turned out that there were so many good submissions, and the idea instantly exploded into a much more grandiose idea where they ended up picking 10 of us. And the overall project thing was for a year, right? And that was pretty insane because you have to have a very specialized situation to just say, cool, I'm going to drop my entire life and go live on an island for a year. So, you know what I mean? It's like, you have a wife and kids and a 9-to-5 job. You can't do that.
I'm going to go live this, I'm going to go on this mini reality TV show basically and play online poker and party and just, jump off the mainland for a year. Yeah, it's not too many people have that ability. So it's awesome you were able to do that. Yeah,
so we all got together and it was a blast. And, obviously there were some growing pains there. For a second when the whole project was starting, because it kind of had no immediate game plan, we're all kind of looking at each other and we're kind of like, is this going to be like the next weird version of Fire Festival? Because, we just didn't know, you know what I mean? And it was pretty crazy. So we ended up getting out there. We all formed a really, really solid bond. And I just loved it, man. And it was great because at the time I had already been hooked up and doing some commentary with America's Card Room, actually, that you originally turned me on to.
Yes.
And it was really great because America's Card Room loved the Thirst Lounge project as a whole. They loved the idea. And so they started basically donating cage packages to Perkins to basically dish out to the players for each cage. And it was cool because I already had a guaranteed cage package because I was there doing the commentary. So essentially, the cage normally went down every other month. So my whole thing was, guys, I'm going to be there. Which friend do I get to take from the island with me this time? So it was a really special kind of crossing of my passions and the projects I was involved in. So it was really cool, man.
Awesome. Very cool, man. So this is what's on my mind right now. So I'm just going to ask it. A lot of people know you as the Pinball Wizard. And how many pinball machines do you currently own in your household?
I thought you might ask me that. So I actually pulled up my collection list. I have it on my other screen right here.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22 currently. Only 20. only 22 pinballs right now.
Only 22.
Only 22.
What's the maximum you've ever had? Probably like 25 or something, 26?
I peaked at about 30, which basically fills the main living room, the family room, and the 3-car garage that's pretty much what it takes to fill about 30 pins. So that's the most I've had. Now, as far as pins I've owned, I started collecting in the early 2000s. I mean, I really didn't get into it probably till about 2005, 2006. But over that time span, I've easily bought and sold probably 150 different games.
Oh my God.
And okay, you talk about bankroll management, right? In poker, let's relate it to that term. So I realized really quickly that there was kind of a market. Think of, at least at the time, it's changed a little bit, the landscape of it. But at the time, it was almost like selling nostalgia, selling a car if there was no Kelley Blue Book. So whatever somebody is willing to pay for it, you'll get. And if you're a decent salesman, you'll get your money, right? And so I was scouring Craigslist and just flipping pinballs. I'd buy it for $500, I'd sell it for $1,500, yada, yada. But the first big, quote, bankroll builder in pinball for me was I found a little old lady whose husband was an arcade operator. He passed away. She was like, I'm just cleaning out this storage shed. These are the games that he wanted to keep. Like I don't even care, whatever you want. And I was just like, I don't want to take advantage of you. I don't even know what they're worth at the time. But I ended up getting a 6-pack of games. And the games I got were a Back to the Future, which actually isn't as cool as you'd think because it was kind of a crap game. But a Back to the Future, a Dr. Dude, 2 different Simpsons games, a Rocky and Bullwinkle, and a Terminator 2.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, hell yeah. Shout out to my dad, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Yeah.
Dude, it was really cool. And it was one of the few games that had an animated back box, right? So the actual back box, Bullwinkle had a little hand with a hat, and he would pull out either a rabbit or a lion or something like that in the back box. So it was really cool. But I got all 6 out the door for $1,500 total.
Oh, wow.
And then I sold each one for $1,500, and the pinball bankroll was born.
Nice. And that's how it began. So Zach in the chat asks, have you been profitable? To say the least, yes, he has been profitable on the pinball hustle. That's awesome.
For sure. That was still the best deal to date. Out of the 150 or whatever I've owned, I've only ever lost money 3 times, I think. And it was a couple $100. It was like nothing. And every time I made money, it was probably 1,000 plus. So
that's a good ROI. Hell yeah. So you said something about a pinball machine from your work before you left. Is that what started the pinball craze? What exactly got you into it? What was that the first time right there at this lady's?
No. So growing up, I was a gamer, right? I mean, pretty much I grew up with Nintendo, and I'm just jamming through Mario, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, all the classics. You guys know we could sit here and rap nostalgia all day. But what it comes down to is I was a video game guy. I wanted to beat the levels. I wanted to beat the game. I wanted to beat the boss, right? And pinball to me just honestly was stupid. Hit a ball, get a score, like who cares? Ding, 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 like whatever. I'm sleeping. Like I don't care about this, right? And then I was at my brother's house. Now my brother is a meteorologist. So he's been in broadcasting and he kind of goes wherever his nice next gig is and his next contract is. So I think he was out in Cincinnati at the time, and he had a Pac-Man arcade game, and he had a Jurassic Park pinball. And he put it in his basement, which, by the way, I am ultra jealous of all of you out there with basements. Amazing. I would love to have a giant furnished basement the size of my house that I could just put all my toys in. I'm so jealous. California, that does not exist. It is not a thing.
I was going to say, I'm thinking about my grandparents, Washington State. They had like the sickest furnished fireplace basement. I've always said I want a house with a really big, nice furnished basement ever since then. Very cool.
Yeah. And so it was... So I was there and I was just grinding Pac-Man. Literally, I was just like, I'm going to beat his high score. And I was grinding Pac-Man nonstop for like hours. And my brother comes down after hanging out and putting, the wife and the kids and the family to bed. And he's like, hey, man, you want to play some pinball? And I'm like, nah. And he's like, come on, let's play some pinball. And I'm like, nah, it's not really my thing. And he was like, well, do you know how to play? And I was like, well, yeah, just hit a ball, get a score. Like, you stupid idiot, duh, right? I mean, like, come on, like, what? Like, are you kidding me?
Idiot.
And then, you're stupid, bro. Literally, bro. And then he's like, oh, you don't know how to play. He walks me over to the game and he shows me, here's Jurassic Park. and there's all these different missions. There's like 12 missions, right? You got to feed the raptor, you got to feed the T-Rex, you got to avoid the raptors, you got to like light the control room by hitting the power shed, and all these like really methodical things. And if you beat each of these 12 missions, then essentially you get to system shutdown where the whole park goes crazy. The machine actually looks like it's crashing. I thought I broke it. It has all this gobbledygook on the screen, and it's kind of like in the movie where the whole system just gets infected with a virus and shuts down. And then you get to this crazy wizard mode, they call it. That's normally the end mode in a pinball. And it's like this 6-ball multi-ball, and it just goes freaking crazy. And I've never seen the machine do anything like this. And my heart was pounding and thumping, my veins popping out of my neck. And then like, you know what I mean? And then like I finished this game.
Yes.
Yeah, well, just like, you're the poker table guy. I mean, if I was at the main event final table right now, the same vein would be popping right out of my neck, right? So it's it's one of those things where I did it. My brother's like, I've only ever hit that twice. You just hit it tonight. Like, that's crazy. I put in my initials, and that was it. The needle was in the vein. And after I left Cincinnati, I came home. I called up all the local arcade operators I could find until I found somebody with a Jurassic Park, and went and I bought the game. And that was the game I had for years. Fun fact, I actually sold that game. And instantly after I sold it, I realized how much money could be made in pinball at the time. And I started buying and selling games, but like I immediately regretted it and I missed it. I actually have, and I need to find this picture. My girlfriend at the time took it as a picture of me hugging the pinball machine goodbye. And there's a picture of Negreanu in like a framed poster because it was right next to my poker table at the time. And I instantly missed it. Just randomly, 6 years later, 5-6 years later, I'm on Craigslist. I was searching for something completely different. The guy had misspelled the word pinball. He put a space in between pin and ball and put like one L in ball. And it said Jurassic Park, and it was a decent deal. I hit him up. We started chatting. I said, "Where'd you get it?" He's like, "I don't know, some kid out in Sacramento a while ago." And I'm like, "Yeah, like where at?" No joke. It was my old game, and I bought that exact game back. So I still own my first game, even though it went away for a while. And it's funny because when I sold it to him, I cleared the plays on it, the total amount of plays that it had. Yeah. So when I got it back, it had like another 2,500 plays on it. And I just remember looking at that on the screen, and I like tap it on the side. I'm like, "You did good, pig. You did good."
That's awesome.
And I still have it. I still have it. Yeah. It's I'm never selling it. I haven't played it in years, but I'm never selling it. I mean, come on. If you love something, you let it go, it comes back again. You don't let it go. What are you, crazy?
You should write a song about that. That's
right.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's like, it's super Destiny. You're meant to have it back. And I'm sure you were like just floating when you found like, oh my God, I can get this back. And that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. And it's really crazy. I mean, right now, pinball, as I would say, almost borderline going through like I don't even know if this might be a horrible comparison, but like a Bitcoin phase where like pinflation is real. The price is not going down. Now, obviously, the last couple of days, Bitcoin's done some weird stuff, but in general, the price of these pinballs just keeps going up. So one of those examples, I've sold some insane pins, one of which I'm not really allowed to name the name. But I did, because there's only 12 of them made, but I did sell a pinball machine in the last couple months for $52,000.
$52,000. Yeah. Is that the most expensive? Is that the highest price you've ever sold?
That is by far the most expensive. Now, right before that, I had actually sold the second most expensive game I had ever sold, which was my Tron LE. So it was a Tron limited edition pinball. They only made 400, but I had owned it for almost exactly a decade. And I bought it brand new for $5,500, and I sold it on eBay for $25K.
Dang! And what was the $52,000 machine? Which what was it?
Nope, not gonna catch me in that, bud. Can't tell it, can't say it. It was unlicensed. It was a custom game. There was only 12 of them in the world, 6 in Europe, 6 in the States. It doesn't exist anywhere. So, but let's just say the new owner is very happy, and I'm actually really happy because the owner happens to be a really big wig at the medical doctor chain without getting into specifics, and he only lives about 25 minutes away, so I can go visit it anytime and enjoy it. So that's pretty cool.
Dang, that's awesome. Dang, 52,000. That's insane.
Yeah, bro. I mean, like, it took a second. It's great, and there was actually a big stink about it at the bank too, because he wired the money and it was in there for like one night. It said pending. The next morning, it was gone. He calls me up. The guy's really cool, and he was like, "Dude, I don't really like people crawling in my stuff." He's like, "But this bank is asking me what this is all about. And they want like all of this information about you." And I was like, all of this super private personal information. I was like, well, that you wouldn't have anyways. So tell them exactly what it's for. It's legitimately for a pinball machine. whether they believe you or not, that's not on them to judge values of pinball machines. So he pushed it through and the wire went through. But yeah, it was crazy. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, life is a crazy roller coaster, dude. You know?
We don't believe you, sir. There's no way in hell that anyone in their right mind would pay $52,000 for a pinball machine. Obviously, limited edition. That's what it's all about, rarity, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's basically, it's like rarity, quality, and gameplay, right? So, or rarity, theme, and gameplay. So if you hit on 1, 2, or even 3 of those things, then you're just printing money, right? Because it's like, if it's only super rare, it's worth something. If it's an amazing game, it's worth something. If it's an amazing theme, it's worth something. If you happen to get all 3 of those, then you basically have gold.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And now you are the pinball wizard living at the pinball palace. I don't even think, I think there's a lot of people, there has to be at least a few people here in the chat even that could like honestly say like, I couldn't fit 22 pinball machines in my house if I wanted to. You know, that's remarkable. I love coming over your place. My kids love coming over your place, obviously. I need to get over soon and get on it with you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I knew when I was looking at purchasing a house that I could live by myself and afford it in a very small house, but I knew I was going to collect games the size of refrigerators instead of like baseball cards. So I needed space. Yes. So I already had a couple of roommates at the time paying someone else's mortgage. So I said, hey guys, I'm going to buy this house that's way too big for me and I'm going to move out and you guys are going to need somewhere to live anyways. So why don't you come on over and you guys pay some money and I'll cover all the pinball machines and the fun factor in the house. Good talk. See you out there. And that was about 10 years ago. So good times.
Hell yeah. So you've been a commentator, a poker commentator for multiple platforms. You're now running the ACR show for the America's Cardroom Twitch stream. Obviously, when the Cage event comes back, I'm sure you'll be the main man running that again. You've had a lot of experience with different things. Thirst Lounge, Stones Live, ACR Cage, streaming online on a daily basis. I know I can personally say, obviously, I in my mind, I can see myself continuing to be a poker streamer and poker commentator for maybe forever. I mean, I love it so much. Even if I were to hit the lottery for $100 million tomorrow, I think I would still want to continue doing what I'm doing and commentating, doing, you know, what we love, commentating. I know I can personally say that, you know, if I had to just close my eyes and imagine like my absolute dream, I'm a basketball junkie. I would personally love to be like a courtside ESPN basketball, NBA, college basketball commentator on top of all of the awesome poker commentating and gigs we do. If you had to close your eyes and say, I would want to be commentating there and doing this, or for that matter, is there anything else other than commentating in your snap your fingers dream scenario that you would want to be doing?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's one of those things where like, and we've all heard this before, right? If you're doing something you love for work, you're never really working a day in your life. And that's kind of where I feel that we're at. I mean, don't get me wrong, like you're going to break your back, you're going to get exhausted, you're going to put in the effort and the time and the quality. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're right, man. You know, it's a good sign. If I were to go hit the lottery and, you know, get like, you know, millies in the bank tomorrow, I'd probably still just do what I do because I love it. I love sharing the passion. And you know what's funny about it? I glorify myself as like a poker hype man. And it's really tough to explain. You know, if like if a family friend asks me or some girl I'm talking to asks me, what do you do for work? I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is like, I don't know. You know, which would normally be like the most bummest answer on the planet. Like, what do you like sleep on your parents' couch? You fucking lazy ass, right?
That's
like,
every girl's dream, to meet a man that will say those words when they ask you, what do you do for a living? I don't know.
You know, but it's one of those. So now I give them the blanket answer, which is, I'm in broadcasting, whatever. And then we go from there. I mean, broadcasting is like one slice of the pie, but I just do pretty much everything. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I think it's always important, always be learning. Always be acquiring skills, and like, don't forget those skills because those skills are useful in one way or another. So prime example, what I do now with the ACR show, the way that the ACR show came into existence was I was doing the Cage events, right? I was just doing commentary there. I did 1 or 2. I was like, hey, we have a lot of fun. You have a lot of fun. You want to put a ring on it? Maybe we can do more of these. And so I did. And then all of a sudden this thing called COVID and this thing called the pandemic hit, and then boom. Like travel's closed, no more Cage events, yada, yada. So they reached out to me and they said, we want to broadcast more on our Twitch channel. And I said, great. They're like, we want you to do it. And I said, great. What'd you have in mind? And they said, no idea. Why don't you let us know? Oh, okay,
awesome.
Cool. So that's kind of how I came up with the ACR show. But if you think about the ACR show and how it's all put together, it is a culmination of everything from my past. So I did like car sales for a hot minute, as far as like hyping and sales and being energetic, et cetera, et cetera. I did a bunch of corporate professional IT for a long time. So I know all of the technical side of how to put things together and make them work the way I want to work. And then as far as Twitch goes and the broadcasting side, I literally lived on an island for a year and all I did was broadcast. So when I put all of those previous jobs together, I literally made my own position with ACR to create a really great, viable product that we've now grown. I've personally grown with, along with you, the help of you, by the way. Love you for the Loncar forecast, dude.
Thanks, man.
Legitimately, the fact that I can count on you each and every time, bro. Huge shouts, huge hearts, dude.
Yeah, man.
But it's like I basically created a product that I've grown 10x. I mean, when we started with this product, it was 30 people, maybe average, and now we're 300 to 500, depending on the day.
That's amazing.
And that's just so cool, man. And I'm going to say this right now, public service announcement. Our community kicks so much ass and we are just getting warmed up and I love it. And when I say our community, I mean, because all of the splash and the crossover between me, you, the ACR show, Bet on Drew, like all of the streamers, right? Like it's all the same people in the chat. You can hop in the chat and say hi to somebody because you were just hanging out with them in someone else's chat. And I just love that, dude. When I see like the sub bombs drop in and everybody just like, hey, thanks, man. Let's do this or let's do that. Or, oh, congrats. Good for you. You won that. That's dope. I just love the camaraderie we've created. And that's tough to find on the internet when generally the internet can be a very toxic place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a great community. Like you said, it's a shared community, without a doubt between a bunch of the ACR channels, and the community is amazing. A lot of passion, a lot of love. Awesome camaraderie. It's awesome. You guys are awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. Much love all day.
Yes. And on that note, let's open up. Perfect time to open up the chat question part of the show. This is the chance for you guys to ask questions. Some of you have already been putting the questions in the chat for Justin. Shelly, Live Aloha 69. What's up, Shelly? She says,
hey.
Any plans on doing another celebrity online poker tournament that you and Loncar can team up and commentate? Really enjoyed the ones you guys did for Feed America. Yeah.
Yes. I think Loncar is 100% in agreement with me when I say 2 thumbs up. Yes, let's do it again. We had an absolute blast. In fact, we came up with some other stuff that are still some irons in the fire that possibly may have spawned out of that, not to get into specifics or anything, but just lots of really good stuff in the works. And I mean, let's just face it, ACR is on a very, very solid upward, cool trajectory. And we did 2 of those, actually. It was really cool. We did the Feeding America one. Then we did the Mount Sinai one for all the NYC hospitals in the front line of the pandemic. And dude, yeah, I wouldn't change that for the world. I would do that again in a heartbeat. Just say win. I'm there.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to make a note to talk to the Nagy and see if we can get that going again. That'd be awesome. That would be really 100%. Awesome. MTF23 says, do you play much on ACR? I haven't seen you on the Winner Chicken Dinner section yet. How often do you actually grind on ACR?
So, it's tough. It's this weird balance of I love to grind poker and I love to play the game. I have so much passion for the game. But at the same time, I know that if I am going to grind, I need to carve out like an entire day because nobody's going to be like, oh, I'm going to grind unless it's cash, right? I do enjoy myself some good 7-day no rat hole. Let's be honest.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where like, if I'm going to grind, it's got to be an all day thing. Cause I'm not going to grind to like min cash. I'm going to grind to final table and win. So it's like, I have to carve out an entire day. And to be real with you, because we talked about earlier, all of the entrepreneurial stuff I have going on in so many different aspects, I'm so effing busy every day that like, and it's funny because I used to use this line and it still holds true today that I'm the busiest quote unemployed guy it's just like, it's so insane because it's like I always have something to do. I also have like my own IT consulting company on the side. I also help people set up their Twitch streams. So it's like at the end of the day, unfortunately, I wish poker like grinding was closer to the forefront of my everyday thing. But it just gets pushed back, except for Sundays. I do like to get into it on Sundays, but
yes.
No, I promise you, I will find myself on a winner segment sooner than later, my friends. Challenge accepted. Yes, challenge accepted.
That promise is going to be met. Absolutely.
Done.
Benjamin80 asked a very important question. Question for Train. Was meeting Benjamin80 the highlight of your WSOP this year?
Dude,
What's up, Benjamin?
Benjamin, I gotta tell you, dude, Benjamin is effing great, dude. And you can just see, like the quality of the guy he is. You can see in his tweets, you can see in everything that he retweets, and just his attitude, man. It's positive, it's motivating, like more of that, less bullshit, right? Like that's what we need. If there was a million Benjamins, by the way, there can't be, there's only one, you're irreplaceable. But like if there was a million of those, the world would just be a better place. And he's just a genuinely nice, cool guy who's got a love of the game and just promotes positivity in poker. And I got nothing but love, man, all the way. It was the highlight, of course. It was the only thing that would have been better is if I won the main event. Even if I would have got second place in the main event, it wouldn't have been as cool as meeting Benjamin. So there you go.
Wow, there we go. That's yo, and much love, man. Much love, Benjamin. It's like Justin said. It's easy to tell. You get a feel for someone on their social media, their tweets, and their language, and their positivity. And lots of love to Benjamin80. Lots of love. Jared11101 says, hosting the ACR show honestly should be more prestigious than Trebek hosting Jeopardy.
Oh, wow. Those are some giant shoes to fill. But I do appreciate that. Fun fact, there was a documentary, and I believe it's just called Game Show, I think. But it's about, I think, different game show hosts. But Trebek is one of them. And he's quoted in this documentary saying that he was really little and he was watching, because obviously he was older. So, game shows were like at their peak at that point, like black and white TV just getting into color, the 60s, 70s, like game shows were like the epitome of like amazingness. And when his parents asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he said a game show host.
Wow.
And
so
as
awesome.
much as you want to support your kid, you got to be like, all right, bro, like, let's get real. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you got to go to school. You got to get the wife, the kids. And the dog,
oh my goodness. That's a flash to the future when you got kids and they tell you the job. Let me tell you, bro, talking to your kid like that. That's awesome.
Right. You know what I mean? And so they're just like, hey, like, that's cute. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a trash can. I'm like, yeah, that's not feasible. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? Right. So like he said that. And I just had this biggest shit-eating grin when I heard that, because I'm like, you go, dude. Like, and then you go on to host like the most successful game show of all time forever.
Yes.
Like, good for you, man.
Nicely done. Nicely done, Trebek. I actually always think about the Saturday Night Live Sean Connery Trebek. Every single time I hear Trebek, that's just what my mind goes to. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you check it out on YouTube.
It's so good. It's the Trebek and Sean Connery. Obviously, yes. Will Ferrell plays Trebek. Different people play Sean Connery, but it's so just good. I won't even ruin it. We could like line quote it all day, but I will. I do remember that actually. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald, who we both got to hang out with several times. Yes, he was on there and he played Turd Ferguson, Big Hat. And basically, he was mocking Burt Reynolds at the time. Yes. And when I saw him in Costa Rica, I was like, "Hey, Big Hat, it's funny, Big Hat, Turd Ferguson, bro." And he's just like, "Yes," it's because it's like it's not like what he's best known for, but it was such a great, funny moment in his life that he appreciates when people know that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes. Basta in the chat says Supreme Stern Pinball Machine is one of the sickest Loncar. Ask Justin about this one.
Yeah, so Supreme, oh wow, if only I knew. If only I had an hourglass or a time machine, whatever. Anyways, all the above. So Supreme, yeah, it's actually a reskinned home version of Spider-Man, which essentially was like borderline cardboard trash. It was like a couple grand and it came out and everybody laughed at it. But what I didn't understand was the relationship of how much pinball would inflate and how absolutely effing insane Supreme collectors are. Right. And so when you combine those two together, there's a Supreme pinball machine listed right now on the marketplace on Pinside, which is a popular pinball forum, for $100,000.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Now, whether that will sell or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's just that like that's insane. I mean, that's just and the same thing. Like, apparently Gucci just did a cross promotion with the new Xbox. And they made a Gucci Xbox. They only made like 100 of them. Those things right now are trading for $18,000.
Dang. That's insane.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of need it.
You have to have so much money to be able to buy a $100,000 pinball machine. That's incredible. Dang.
Yeah. And I got to be honest with you, the pinball hobby's been great as far as the connections I've made and the people I meet. it's really funny because, you know, when I got into the hobby, I was just like, oh my God, I would never spend like $3,000 for that Addams Family. Who spends $3,000 on a pinball machine? And right now, I just got a brand new Godzilla pinball machine, right? Godzilla limited edition, amazing pinball machine. They sold out in an hour, right? They sold out, I think it was 1,000 units or 750 units, whatever it was, in an hour, right? And then instantly they were going for, well, let me just tell you what I paid for it. 10.5.
Wow.
Right? So 10.5, and then that game was instantly going for closer to like 14 or 15K because you just couldn't get one. And that game got delivered a week ago, and it's just sitting in my garage. My buddy I told my roommate to accept delivery, take a picture, make sure it didn't look like a forklift went through the box, and I'll go open it up when I get home.
Nice little early Christmas present when you go back to SAC. Nice.
Yeah, but it's insane. Like I never. So what I was getting at as far as the connections and stuff is now at this point, pinball has grown into, oh, that's a nostalgic, cool thing, to it's basically getting really, if it's not already there, it's there pretty quickly. It's just a rich man's game. It's a rich man's hobby. If I were to go out and try to get the collection at current pricing now that I have, I'd need to go out and drop several $100,000, right? It's just absolutely insane. But with that being said, generally speaking, people who collect pinball machines aren't broke.
Yeah.
So I ended up making some really, really cool connections. I met a guy who actually helped found Broadcom in the Silicon Valley, which is a huge tech company out there, who hooked me up with like dinner reservations at Club 33, which is that exclusive place at Disneyland that you have to be like a member of with like a wait list a year long. I became friends with the executive producer of Family Guy, just all sorts of people, you know, who are really, really cool people. And the thing about it too, when you meet these people in that sort of environment, it's not like a business meeting. It's not a boardroom. I'm not there to get something from you or get you to fund my project or like hope you like me. It's like, no, dude, grab this beer and let's go play a game of pinball. And so you kind of meet on this really cool mutual playing field. And it's just a really fun networking kind of environment where like a lot of times at this point, I've played every pinball that's been out there ever. So when I go to these pinball shows, I'll go the entire weekend of these pinball shows and I'll play like 10 games. You know what I mean? It's just like, because I'm just hanging out with my friends from all around the country. It's very similar to a poker tournament where it's like, well, I mean, you're going to be playing a lot of poker, but like everybody you know from all around the world and all around the country just congregates at the same location. And you come up with fun, cool stuff to do because you're basically just hanging out with your friends from around the world. And like, why not? You know?
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Got its own community. Jared 1101 in the chat says, question, Justin Kelly, what is your favorite or proudest poker moment? That's a great question.
Ooh, God. I don't even know. Can I rain check it? I got to think about that for a minute. I don't like, nothing immediately crazy stands out. Oh, you know what? I got a fun one. I don't know if it's my proudest, but I thought it was really freaking cool.
Yes.
So we were at this home game and I was playing heads up against this other guy, right? And I had this entire rail behind me of like 6 people. And I forget exactly what the hand was, but I basically check raised this guy on the river and made just the sickest bluff ever. And he was super thinking about calling. And I just had this moment where I thought, this could be cool. And I don't think anyone on my rail would give me up or rat me out. And I think they're all poker players and they'd hold a poker face. So I pull my hand up and I hold it like this. So the entire rail can see it. And I have nothing. I have like 7 high. Right? And nobody in my rail breaks. Nobody. Everybody keeps the game face. The dude folds after tanking for like 2 minutes and everybody loses their shit. I felt like I just won the WSOP. That was so sick. And that guy, oh my God, that guy was so tilted. He just lost it. He went on massive spew off the rails and I took it down. It was amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love how it's like, you know, it's not, as I always say, it's not about the money, it's about the game, it's about the moment. It's, you know, it's about the emotions, and that's awesome.
It really is, man. It really is.
Benjamin80 asked another very important question. Question for Justin. How concerned are you that Party's drinking bet with Ape Styles ends tomorrow? America's Cartoon Sponsor Pro, John Party. How long has it been since John hasn't had a drink in Vegas? How long has it been?
He had a month-long prop bet with a sponsor by Ape Styles. So Ape basically said, if you don't drink for a month, I'll give you $1,000. And keep in mind, I saw him with what looked like a beer in his hand, and I think it was like an O'Doul's or whatever the hell it was. And I like yanked it out of his hand, like, gotcha, sucker. And he's like, oh, it's non-alcoholic. I'm like, bullshit. There's got to be like something. There's going to be like 0.01 in here. There's going to be something in here, right? And like I flip around the can and there's like this advertisement on that says 0.00 100% alcohol free. And I'm like, shit.
And John Party lives up to his last name. He likes to party. So I'm sure this has not been an easy month being in Vegas, being around party scene, not drinking. So we're going to see an explosion in a couple days from now.
So to answer your question, Ben, how worried am I? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm fucking terrified. Like 100%. Like I'm borderline considering just getting a hotel room on the Strip for a couple days so he can just like kill his liver and I don't have to deal with it. Realistically. Yeah.
Have fun, John.
I'm so scared. I'm just like scared right now. Why'd you bring that up? Oh God.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's good, man. I'm sure whether you're there or not, ACR is gonna have some good content from Mr. John Party in a couple days. In fact, I'm going to be kind of extra tuning into everything just to make sure I'm not missing anything with him going crazy with that prop bet coming to a close.
I mean, bro, his first couple nights in the house, he was drinking and he was just yelling and screaming basically like by himself. So here's what Party does. I love Party to death, but Party's favorite TV show that he watches is just Googling John Party on YouTube and watching everything he's ever been in, right? And so what he'll do is he'll get hammered drunk.
So funny.
Yeah. Bro, that's what he does, right? I mean, I just go down and he's just watching Thirst Lounge or he's watching Punter's Pad or he's watching Big Brother highlights. He's just him. He's just watching him, right?
I don't watch my stuff ever. I literally never watch any of my stuff ever.
So like I go downstairs and he's basically just like laughing and yelling and just like being like volume decibel like 11 million. And I go down there and I'm basically like in my boxers. This is like the first couple nights here. I barely even know the producer we're hanging out with at the time. And I just walked out of my boxers. And I just grab the water and I just look at him and I'm like, yelling is fun. And I just yell at the fucking top of my lungs right in his face, right? And then like walk away and go to sleep. And I talk to him the next day. He doesn't know anything. That never happened. He didn't remember any of it. Totally blackout. Didn't even I was just like, yeah, I love the guy. But if that drinking bet is like that here in the near future,
oh my goodness.
So screwed. I'm so screwed.
I'm a little disappointed. I was looking forward to you saying you went downstairs, he was roaring, laughing really hard, and he was laughing at himself, like at something he saw.
There was a picture. Well, he was. That's where the noise was.
He
was laughing and yelling about himself on the TV. And then it's funny because somebody came and took a picture of him at like 5 a.m. when he had finally passed out, and he's sitting on the couch, shirtless in his boxers, with his like beer in between his legs, still holding it, just passed out.
John Party is an animal.
Absolute animal legend, man. I love him. He, I mean, look, I like to talk a lot of shit about Party, but at the end of the day, I know he means well, and he's just a good dude. He's a good soul, whatever. He can be a little over the top, and by a little, I mean a lot, but he's a good dude.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to having him on relatively soon.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got some good ass stories to share with us here on set.
Oh, all day. All
right, man. Well, appreciate you very much. We've come to the top of the hour. Justin Kelly, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Kelly, a.k.a. Fattrain. And I do have to ask that on set. How did Fattrain come about? Just because I know I get asked that from time to time. How did the Fattrain come about? Gotta ask it.
Okay. All right. We're just going to say it. We're just going to do it. I've had a cocktail. We're just going to do it. Okay. So it all went down in 7th grade sex ed, which actually makes it sound way worse than it really is. It's not like that at all.
7th grade. This all went down in 7th grade sex ed. That's one of like a top 20 way to start a story. Continue.
So we didn't actually have like a standalone like sex ed class. It was more like part of the science class. And the teacher, you can tell, just like didn't care and just phoned it in. And this was around the time like AOL Instant Messenger was a thing. The internet was really blowing up. And so you kind of needed to come up with screen names and this and that, which we'll get into in a minute. But essentially, the teacher just looked around and was just like, you go ahead and you basically like come up with like a skit, not like a dirty way, but come up with like a quick skit that like demonstrates that like something about safe sex. And at the time, there was a Sprite commercial out that we tried to mimic, which was like a bunch of guys being all hardcore playing basketball. And then like when the director yells cut, like, they're basically just kind of like more feminine, flamboyant type actor dudes. And we pretty much tried to mimic that. And it was me and this guy, Darnell, who was this like huge, like yoked black guy. And then this other girl named Shalina. And we're like, hey, we're going to get up there and we're going to come up with like these hardcore semi-sexual names and then like roll into the, oh, just kidding. Like the whole, like kind of mimic the Sprite commercial idea, whatever. If it's irrelevant. But we get up there and he's just like, dude, I got you. Like, don't worry about it. He didn't even say what it was going to be. He's like, I got you. Like, we're just going to go up there and do this. So he walks up there and he's like, yo, I'm packing Pablo. This here is Shaquifa. And Shalina Shaquifa now, right? And then over here, this is my boy, the mother effing Fattrain. And like the class lost their shit. Everybody started laughing. And then like that was it. And we all had a good laugh and it was fun. And then like later that night, I had to cruise in. And basically, I was creating an account for something else. I think maybe it was AOL Instant Messenger or something. Maybe ICQ for all you old schoolers.
I remember ICQ. Hell yeah.
Flower. Yeah. So I had to create a username and I was like, oh, Fattrain, boom. And that was it, man. And then it was like never taken anywhere. I bought the domain fattrain.com. At one point, 1-800-FATTRAIN used to forward to my beeper. Yes, I said beeper.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was pretty much it. And it just stuck and I never found the need to change it. So whatever.
Did you ever ask him where did Fattrain come from? He just randomly said that and
he just blurted it out, dude. I don't know if it was Tourette's. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I don't care. But yeah, it was just funny, man. I just went for it and I've just owned it ever since. And it's a chill name and everybody pretty much has just shortened it to Train. And it's cool. It's one syllable. It's easy. Everybody knows like 20 people named Justin, but you probably only know like one guy named Train. So it just makes it easy. Yeah. I mean, and I would say if I had to break it down, probably 75% of people call me Train as opposed to Justin, like on the regular. Like a lot of people refer to my parents as jokingly as like parents of the train. You know what I mean? Like parents of Train. Like it's just like whatever. It's just me now. So I respond to Train honestly more so than I do Justin at this point. It is really funny, however, when I have like mixed company, maybe somebody I like grew up with who knew me as Justin because I was like 5, you know, and then they're all hanging out and they might be sharing a story about me, but they don't necessarily know. So like I said, so many people know me as Train. There were several points where somebody essentially said like, hey, you know, blah, 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 Justin this and Justin that, yada, yada, yada. And then the person who knows me as Train is like, wait, who's Justin again? And like, they just point over at me and they're like, oh, Train. Okay, cool. Like legit, like it didn't even register that my name was Justin in their head. Like this happens on the regular.
Justin. I don't know any Justins around here.
Like it's just me now.
Train.
You know?
So it was just destiny. That was destined to be your nickname. That's awesome. Ghost of M in the chat says, question for Justin: how many people asked you to sing Drops of Jupiter when the band Train was big for like 1 year?
Exactly. You know, it's funny. I remember when I saw like a music video pop up, I was like, oh, this band name is Train. And I'm like, I'm Train. Why are you copying me? You stole my shit.
They just jacked my shit, man. What the hell?
That's messed up, dude. There can only be one.
There can only be one Train. Well, cheers, man. Thanks a ton for coming on tonight, sharing your story, and obviously, I'm always looking forward to doing more stuff with you and collabing with you. I'm always honored to be in the booth with you. I think you are just absolutely, there's no other way to say it, the most underrated commentator in the game. You've got so much talent. And thanks for coming on tonight, man. I appreciate you so much.
Dude, I appreciate you too, man. It's been a wild ride. And I guess I could leave it with something like this, guys. The position I'm in, if you were to ask me 5 years ago, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? I sure as hell would have told you this, right? I would not have told you this at all. And it's not because I don't want to do this. It's just because I think you have to be open to where life takes you. If you try to get stagnant and stuck in your box and basically just be like, this is what I'm going to do and I'm only going to do this, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. The world is so big and you're only ever going to scratch like 3% of the surface at best. So why don't you just be open to change and explore what's out there and like check things out? Like, just like get out of your comfort zone. You might like it. Just saying.
Dropping some wisdom here on the stream.
Yeah.
Thanks a ton, Justin. That's a great way to end the night. Appreciate you, brother.
Cool. All right. Love you guys. I'll see you guys soon.
Much love, man.
Later, man.
Mr. Justin Kelly, a.k.a. Fattrain. We all know now. It came from 7th grade sex ed class. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Mr. Justin Kelly. Awesome guest tonight! Exclamation point ACR show in the chat. Justin hosts the America's Card Room show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over on the America's Card Room Twitch channel, twitch.tv/America's Card Room. And forgot to mention this with him actually on set, but he has given away over $125,000 year to date in the year 2021 over on the ACR show. Always delivering the goods. Always, in my mind, one of the absolute top, like I said, not only poker commentators in the game, but just an absolute natural, charismatic commentator that I've ever seen. If you liked this video, make sure and give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, which is free. And don't forget to click the bell, which will let you know when any new video has been uploaded to my YouTube channel. If you want to catch my streams live, I'm currently streaming all day Wednesdays and all day Sundays over at twitch.tv under the username Loncar Poker. Thanks for watching.